Hi, everybody. Welcome to today's conversation. I'm Andy McMahon. I'm the Executive Director and the Principal Investigator for the Earth Center, the Environmental Natural Resource Technology Center, funded by the National Science Foundation, Division of Advanced Technological Education. Um, Today, we are going to have two guests speak to us about the work they do. Before we get there, I will just quickly say that if you're interested in becoming a part of what the Earth Center is doing or learning more about what the Earth Center does, feel free to visit our website at earthcenter.org, and that's earthcntr.org. And there is lots of resources there and ways to connect and contact us. So for today, we have our speakers are Katie Boyd and Gina Fiorelli uh, Duranlo. They are based out of the CIRES Center for Education Engagement and Evaluation. And today they'll be discussing the climate education project they manage, which is the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network, or the CLEAN network. CLEAN Stewards, a collection of high quality, peer-reviewed teaching materials for teachers engaged in climate and energy education, and they support educators who incorporate these topics into their practice through pedagogical guidance and professional development. I'm going to pass it off to Katie and Gina to take it away. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Andy. It's nice to be here. As Andy mentioned, my name is Katie, and I have Gina here with me. We're going to talk about CLEAN, which is the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network. And I'm going to really quick just post a couple links in the chat. I mentioned, yeah, we are from the Center for Education Engagement and Evaluation, where CLEAN is sort of hosted, and I'll put the link to the CLEAN website in the chat too, in case you want to explore that while I talk about it, and then I will share my slides. Sorry, I was just pulling those up when Andy passed it over to me, so I just wanted to finish that. And can you see, well, actually, let me let them pull up here on my computer even. Do you see my slides yet?
Yes.
We see the PowerPoint
Great.
slides, yeah, just not in presenter mode yet. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Yeah, so we'll talk about CLEAN. As I mentioned, is the Climate Literacy and Energy Awareness Network. You can find us at cleannet.org. We do a lot to support educators bringing climate and energy topics into their practice. So we'll talk more about how we do that. As we go through today, I will introduce you all to CLEAN, our project, but mostly our web portal where we house all of this information. Hoping that perhaps you can find a resource today that might be helpful to you in your practice if you are an educator. And then also maybe finding different support mechanisms for your teaching climate practice. We'll also talk about how you can get involved with CLEAN if you have interest in that, and allow for some time to talk with some others in the chat about the ideas that you may want to implement from today. So we'll go through all that and just like to tease it out a little bit in advance so you know what we're going to kind of try and do today. This figure is a very sort of basic infographic of the climate system. And I like to start with this because it just shows how complex the climate system is. And the fact that we as educators in any capacity are expected to sort of teach about this is a lot to manage. You know, I have a background in climate science, and I don't even feel like I have all of the knowledge and expertise to be able to teach all the different aspects of climate that could be taught in different classrooms and spaces. So how do we sort of expect educators who maybe don't even have that background to do that? And that's where CLEAN comes in. We like to support you and help you through that. So CLEAN was developed about 15 years ago out of a few different efforts, and we've been involved with many of these The climate literacy framework development and energy literacy framework were government agencies as well as NGOs and other like professional societies and individuals came together to develop these frameworks that walk through the sort of big ideas in climate and energy science and how do you understand these systems at a broad level. And from that, we found that, you know, we have these frameworks, but now how do we really support increasing climate and energy literacy in the United States? And that's where CLEAN was developed. It was originally funded by NSF. It's now funded a lot by NOAA. We've had other funding sources like NASA and DOE in the past as well, but our main funding currently comes from NOAA to keep the database going. And we've also been involved with the development of the next generation science standards and incorporating climate within those. And so that's another big piece. You'll see we're well aligned with NGSS. As we go through this talk, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But the idea is that, you know, climate literacy is something where you're applying problem solving, you're doing systems thinking, using interdisciplinary approaches. These are really broad frameworks for how to do that. And so CLEAN is trying to help bring these broad frameworks to teaching and education practice specifically and really support you in doing that. There are three big aspects to CLEAN. The first and main resource that we provide is a collection of educational resources. This is somewhere in the ballpark of around 1,000 resources that we have in our collection. And when at any one time, we're always updating and trying to remove old resources or ones that aren't available anymore or that you know, maybe have gone out of date. And we're always adding new resources every year through our review process, which I'll talk about in a few minutes. So this fluxes, but generally speaking, we have, you know, quite a few hundred, up to around 1,000 or so resources at any one time. And this is educational resources for teaching about climate and energy topics. I'll talk more about the collection itself in a few minutes. We also then, the second piece that we provide is pedagogic support and classroom readiness guidance. So educator support, teaching guidance, a lot of different things to support you in many different aspects of teaching about climate. And the third piece that we host is our community of practice, which we call the CLEAN Network. And that's a community of educators and scientists and educator supporters, curriculum developers, informal educators, a lot of different folks in that network who do various amounts of or have interest in climate education. And that's a space where we can communicate and collaborate about what's going on in the field. So I'm going to focus first talking about our collection. And actually, I'm going to pass it over to Gina to talk a little bit more about the collection.
All right. Thanks, Katie. I am excited to talk about the collection because it is obviously, like Katie said, just a really big piece of what we do, but also it's what we're probably the most well known for. And it's just, I'm very proud of it. So one thing that I want to highlight before we dive into the collection is that we are fully syndicated to the climate.gov site, which is NOAA's website online that talks about teaching about climate change. So this means that you can access all of our resources from our collection on the climate.gov site. They also have support pages in PD from CLEAN and our PD calendar on their site as well. Katie and I keep talking about the CLEAN collection. Well, what is the CLEAN collection? We have around 1,000 peer-reviewed resources that are classroom ready. They are curated, so that means that they're something that we were excited about. Other people were excited about them. They were suggested to us, or we thought we found them and we thought that they would be a good fit. They are all online and totally free. That's a really big piece of this as well, is that all of our resources are accessible. So that means if you have internet, you can access them. They are all aligned with NGSS and the literacy frameworks that Katie was mentioning, and we have a really advanced filter search options so that you can get to what you're looking for a little bit faster and easier. So, why have a collection of resources when there's so much out there? Um, and this is just an example of why having something like Clean is helpful. If you go to Google and search something like hurricane lesson plan, you're going to get thousands upon thousands of results, and probably more than 800,000 at this point, um, of all different things. And it's really hard to know what's going to be quality, what's scientifically accurate. You know, there's so much on the internet. It's really hard to sort through all of that yourself and say, I don't know if this is quality or if it's just something that's out on the internet. And so comparably, when you search for hurricane lesson plans on Clean, um, Katie, if you can hit the next button there, things are going to be quite a bit more narrowed down. You, instead of having thousands of results, you just have dozens. And basically what this means is that we're giving you just a selection of some of the best resources that are available about this particular topic. And so this is a somewhat complex graphic, but the takeaway message is that we have a review process that every single one of our resources goes through, that ensures this highest quality standard. So you can see over at the left, we start with an informal triage. We either are sent things or find things ourselves that we think might be a good fit. And they kind of go through this yes or no basic triage process, where at that point they're then either they are or they're not entered into our formal process. We have content specialists and science specialists both. Or pedagogy specialists and content specialists, I mean, looking at these resources. So basically what that means is we have teachers and scientists at multiple stages, first asynchronously and then synchronously during the review camp, look at these resources and say either they're not scientifically accurate, they are, or a lot of teachers will say, you know, there's not enough scaffolding in this. This is not something that I think would be well received by students. Or they do go through and we have an expert scientist review them. So this is someone who has an advanced degree in the scientific topic, and things either go through to the next step or they fail. And at that point, we do pass a percentage of all resources that go through our collection. We have this entire process takes about a year, and we usually have about 100 resources that go through this whole process in a year. So it's definitely not quick, but it is very thoughtful. And then we kind of start over by you know, looking at what we have in our collection and looking at some thin spots and trying to fill in what we might be missing. And the whole process starts again in the new year. So once a resource passed and we post it on our website, this is what it looks like. So we've got a lot of great information about each resource on each page. You can see at the top we've got the title and then the direct link to the resource. Then of course there's a description that is pretty brief and talks about exactly what you're looking at. And then one really cool feature about our website is that all of the notes from our reviewers in that really long review process are edited and then really spelled out for you here on the site. So we have teaching tips, notes about the science and the pedagogy, and then related information and other details as well. And then over on the right side, you can see the tags that we have, which is what I'll talk about next, that go a little bit more into detail about what grade levels this is appropriate for, the different topics, and if they're aligned with any of those principles. So, yeah, talking a little bit more about the filters, we have all different kinds of resources on Clean. So you can really find what you're looking for if you're an elementary teacher all the way through up to college or informal. So we have three main types of resources. We have activities, visualizations, and videos. And then, like I mentioned, we've got all different kinds of grade levels, the NGSS and climate and energy literacy principles, and all different kinds of scientific topics. We also have different filters for regional focuses, DEI, if you're looking for more of that climate justice component, and then one thing that's really exciting now is that we also have a subject filter. So if you're a non-science teacher, we have some filters for art and history and math and that kind of thing as well. So all different kinds of resources here. And at this point, now we've thrown some introductory information about the collection at you. We're going to have you spend some time trying to find a resource that you could use in Clean. So basically, we are going to invite you to follow the link to the Clean website. Here, I'll repost it. This is the link that, oh, yep, sorry. Katie shared it earlier, and then we both just shared it again. So you can either, and Katie will walk through this in a minute.
To the collection. The one that Gina shared and I shared earlier is our homepage.
Homepage.
And I will actually, I can stop my sharing and show the homepage. And then I'll reshare my browser over here. So that takes you here, and the first thing you see on our website is searching the collection. So you can always just go into here. That's where
Katie, I think we're seeing the wrong window. We've got your the list of links, that document with the list of links up.
Is this the right one? I have too many tabs open.
Yes. Yep. So we're on the resource page now.
Let me go back to our homepage. Then this is where Gina and I both linked. And then I think my second link I tried to send sort of straight to the collection here, which you can get from one click on our website. But you can see in here that we have the tags, as Gina mentioned, and we have the you can just search with text. And yeah, all the tags come from our review process, as she mentioned, information on each resource. So if you want to just spend a few minutes, if you have the ability, some people are maybe just listening in and may not have the ability, but if you can take a couple minutes to share or to look through this and maybe share one resource in the chat that you find useful. I always find that's kind of a fun thing to find different things in the collection. And in the meantime, we'll give it a couple minutes here, Gina. There was a couple questions that came in. I thought we could address those. If anybody else has a question, please put it in the chat. We can take a moment to address a couple of those now, and then we'll keep going with some of the presentation on the other side of the website. Somebody asked about what's happening with the climate.gov website, considering the current situation, and is someone saving info on a non-government server? This is all up in the air. We're not 100% sure. As Gina mentioned, we as Clean provide information for the NOAA Teaching Climate website. Climate.gov itself, we're less involved with the rest of that, but for the teaching climate side, that is part of the reason that they do fund Clean to keep up this database for NOAA. So Clean itself will be, even if the teaching climate section of the climate.gov website goes away, Clean will still exist. Our website is hosted on the Science Education Resource Center at Carleton College, their servers, and they help us manage the website. So we will still exist and keep this information. Some of our resources are NOAA based. We don't know exactly what will happen with those. There are, as we are aware, as far as we are aware, there are efforts to try to keep those, like some of the like mapping. I know they're trying to work with Esri and to host some of that stuff. And there's conversations happening between different partners about trying to move some resources if they do get taken off of NOAA. But for clean, we will still be here. We do get funding from NOAA, so we'll have to see the next budget process, kind of what happens with all of that. And we're just not sure, but we are hopeful that we will continue on. And even if we don't, clean website will still exist, and this information and resources will still exist. It may not be updated, but will still be there. So we'll just see. Any other questions?
It looks like Fawn is looking for a resource about crops that require pollinators. And I think that is a kind of a longer phrase, so I would suggest putting pollinators or something more, yeah, there we go. Two
Yeah.
results for
There are a couple that
pollinators.
talk about pollinators. This garden lesson plan, I actually know about this one. This is a neat one. I think they do mention, yeah, I don't know about like agriculture and crops. The other way you could, yeah, I would say like agriculture might be another sort of topic to look at for like food systems if you're thinking about that. That one brings up quite a few more. So maybe food crops might be another sort of way to narrow it down. Farming and climate change, that's a cool one. I like that one. And food and climate change, those may get into some of that, like food systems might mention pollinators and some of those. The other way to narrow down would then also be like some of these tags. I was trying to think of climate and energy topics, if any of those might have something like the climate system. No. Impacts puzzle. Yeah, okay. So agriculture, food security. That would be like, you could use that tag maybe to help you narrow down if you search for pollinators, and then like use this tag to kind of try to narrow it down, see if I can do something like that. Yeah, you're right. There isn't anything specifically in that tag. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist, but yeah, there's just different ways you can kind of search through it. I would look at this food and climate change and farming and climate change ones, and then that garden one, those might be good. So yeah, in general, always good to kind of just try to have different ways of searching through. And did anybody actually find a resource they want to show? Oh, Dan put one in. Let me pull this
Yep.
up. Elementary Globe Soils module. Ah, yes, Elementary Globe is a great set of resources. When we expanded into elementary, these were some of the first ones we ingested because they're really great. So yeah, this one talks about soils and organic materials. So gosh, probably doesn't may not mention pollinators. This could also even maybe get at the crops at a lower teaching level. The Globe resources have great teaching guides. It basically kind of goes through, it's a whole book for elementary age kids. So it includes the book itself and some activities that are in there. And then I think there's usually, yeah, some like teacher guidance here. So this is a cool with a lot of fun activities for kids that age. Let's see.
Joe's mentioning that this is the year of glaciers. It could be a good topic for 2025. And I know that we have many glaciers are, I think, a big topic here. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we have quite a few polar, you can see, there's 66 that mention
Yeah.
glaciers at least. So
Lots of options there.
there's a lot of good options there. Yeah, we do a lot of, there is a lot of good polar science resources because of the effects of climate change in that region of the world. So that's cool. I always like to show, I think, oh, I wonder if this would pull it up actually. Yeah, this is actually one of our more popular resources always. Always shows up in like top results on our web analytics. It's just a cool viewer of like the current wind going through wind patterns on the earth, and you can like pull up archives and change sort of like what you're seeing to currents in the ocean and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's a cool little simulation. The En-ROADS climate simulator is another really cool one I like to highlight. That's pretty popular too. This one you can look through the actual simulator itself and kind of look at these different levers in the climate system and kind of see how it changes, like impacts for reducing CO2 emissions and things like that, and kind of like play around with that. So that's a fun one. Yeah, others, Gina, you might want to highlight?
No, but I'm looking at this comment from Fawn, who's talking about pollinators, but then also they have a preschool with about 150 kids, which is impressive, and they talk about gardening and vegetable gardens a lot. And I think that we do have
This is a
some of
cool
that. Go
This is a
ahead.
really cool resource for that age range. This food and climate change curriculum. I would definitely recommend checking this one out, and I can put this link in the chat. I think this is a really cool unit for basically bringing gardening to schools, but I think it can apply in non-school settings as well. But it just goes through like, it's this unit, several different lessons for sort of how do you, engage in gardening education basically, and get students thinking about climate change that way. So yeah, that's a cool one. Okay, let's go back and talk about our educator support a bit, and then we'll do more questions. So, let's see, where's my PowerPoint? There it is. All right, I'm gonna make this big again. And so the next piece of Clean is our pedagogic support and classroom readiness guidance. So we call this our educator support section of the website. And here we provide a lot of different web pages. Are you seeing the slides correctly or no?
It's not going, it's not enlarging to the presenter mode. It looks like it's stuck on the it's just not loading up.
Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
There we go.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
So all you missed was this slide where I just went to the next bullet point. And this is a screenshot of our educator support page that takes you to all the different web pages that we've built to help with teaching guidance. So we have the teaching guidance itself, where we go through each topic of climate or energy. We go through the literacy principles, sort of principle by principle on different pages, talk about how do you teach it. I'll get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. We also have guidance for teaching at elementary levels, because that can be so different, teaching in non-science classrooms. We have curriculum guides that walk you through sort of different ways of addressing NGSS at a unit level using clean resources, or how do you build these units with clean resources, because a lot of our resources are small activities or simulations. We also have other topics that we have strategies for, including how do you manage sort of controversial aspects, address climate in areas that maybe don't want to talk about climate change. How do you manage that? Mental health is a big topic for youth, especially right now. So strategies on managing that and activities for mental health aspects of climate change. Teaching resources to address the National Climate Assessment reports. We update those every time a new one comes out, and this most recent one is really cool. So I would recommend looking through that. We've done a really nice and thorough job of that this last time, of really highlighting resources for the regional aspects of climate change and some of the different like newer social aspects of climate system. And then we have a lot of resources for how do you find NGSS standards and search by NGSS and develop curriculum around NGSS. And then we have our professional development that we host. So we have our monthly newsletter that Gina puts together, highlighting clean resources and other things going on in clean. We have our webinar series, professional development webinars that we put on every school year. We also have a teacher ambassador program that you can get involved with if you have interest in being more connected to clean. And these teaching guidance pages are really cool. They go through these sort of big topics, big ideas in climate and energy science, and give strategies for how do you address those. And as I mentioned, we also have them for elementary level and non-science classrooms, because those are a little bit different. The climate and energy pages themselves have also been translated into Spanish and have quizzes. You can test your knowledge. So those are really fun. And that's this is an example of one of those pages where one of the climate literacy principles is all about like the sun's energy going through the climate system, and then the radiation balance, and CO2, and sort of those basics of the greenhouse effect. So this page has the summary of that concept. It includes misconceptions students might have. It includes classroom implementation strategies, example resources from our collection you can use to address it. And so it not only helps you as an educator understand this information, because as I mentioned at the beginning, that's hard to do, but it also then gives you strategies for how you address it with students in different educational settings. And we do have these fun little quizzes. You can test your own knowledge, or students can test their knowledge. And on the climate pages, we have videos, short videos about each principle. So that's something you can always show students. That was an example of a climate page. This is an example of an energy literacy page, very similar. Yeah, we have pages for each. Can I get to that? Each of the different principles, quiz. I kind of already talked about all that, so I'm just going to kind of walk through it. I'm ahead of my own slides. As I mentioned, the other piece that we do a lot of is trying to align to NGSS, because climate is taught in science classrooms so much, and NGSS does include climate in it. So we have tables that list all the climate and energy all the standards, NGSS standards that address climate and energy. And so you can look through those to try to find standards, and then you can link out to a search in the Clean collection. You can also just use the tags, as we showed you a few minutes ago, those tags on the right. We have a bunch of them for the different aspects of NGSS, the performance, the disciplinary core concepts, cross-cutting concepts, performance expectations, and science and engineering practices. So you can use those tags to actually narrow down your search. And then, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, you can also develop curriculum using clean resources that align with NGSS 3D learning and things like that. This is what the tables look like of the standards. So you can open up, we have tables for each different grade level, and then you can open up that table for sort of the different NGSS, the topics, the disciplinary core topic, subjects, and then within that are these sort of DCI concept bullets. So that's really, these really go off the performance expectation and the DCIs. We don't include some of the cross-cutting concepts in these tables, but these are really where you find the actual standards themselves, if you're familiar with the NGSS. So from that link, it will take you to then a search that has already applied this tag for you, which is cool. And then you can always, narrow down with a subject search or what have you. We have these 3 different guides for doing curriculum units. I'm not going to get into too much detail here because I think this level is more community college professors, so you may not need to align with NGSS too much. But if you want an example of a unit using clean resources, this is a great place to find. We have 3 example units that utilize these guides that you can just walk through phenology or something about the energy grid or oceans and atmosphere. Those are really cool example units. And then our professional development, as I mentioned, we do our webinars. We host a series of webinars every semester. And our educator newsletter that goes out once a month that tries to really highlight clean resources and other things happening in clean, like our webinar series. So I will ask once again we'll take a pause. If there's any questions, we can answer those. And then maybe if you want to search through the educator support section of the website, I will put the link for that in the chat. And you can see if there's anything in there that interests you, and I can walk you through the website itself a bit as well. Let me stop sharing this and I'll go back to my internet browser page. And one thing I really want to share with you that I'm really excited about is, okay, am I on the right tab this time, Gina?
We can see, yep, the clean collection page.
Great. So this is our educator support. So anywhere, if you're on the clean homepage, or really anywhere on the site, you can get to sort of these 3 buckets of clean really easily up at the top, which is cool. So this takes you straight to the collection. This first button takes you straight to the educator support, but you can also get to those from up here, which is cool. And then these tiles take you to all the different things I talked about. These are the guidance pages. These are teaching resources and strategies, as I mentioned, around like national climate assessment, managing controversy, climate mental health. But I really wanted to highlight, while we're here, our webinar series right now. We're actually hosting this spring. It starts next week. We're hosting a series of 4 webinars over the next month and a half, which I'm super excited about. And I'm going to put this in the chat in case you want to check in these and register for any of them. We're hosting a sort of climate expert and on each of these topics, and then we'll be talking about clean resources. And this is with a partner, the OER Commons, if you're familiar with them. We're developing some hubs for climate teaching resources with them that based around national climate assessment regions. So if you want to join us for this webinar series, please do so. We're super excited about it. We have Anthony Lizerowitz in the first webinar, and then Raj Pandya and Xavier, oh gosh, what was his last name? Cortada, who is an artist that was involved with the National Climate Assessment, and Catherine Hayhoe for the last one. And I forgot to mention Adam Roberti with Xavier as well. So we are super excited about that. Any questions around the educator support, or did you find something that interests you in that part of the website? And I feel like Fawn put another question. Oh, you know what? No, it's a great question. We don't have anything like that, Fawn, in terms of signage for children's outdoor nature teaching. That would be cool though. I'm trying to think. There's a citizen science project I know about, the if you're not familiar with it, this is a cool organization, the COCORAS group. I can put this link in the chat too. They don't necessarily have it for gardens, but they do work with a lot of students who might have like a garden at their school and want to do, this is a precipitation measurement organization, a citizen community science. They have people put rain gauges out in their backyards or schools or gardens and measure precipitation and put it into their system. National Weather Service and other groups use this data, and they have, I know they somewhere on their site, you might have to look a little bit because I'm not sure exactly if it's kind of right up front, but they have a sign that you can put up when you have a rain gauge that says like, this is being used for scientific data collection or something like that. So that could be an interesting template. This is an organization we highlight on one of our pages. Haha. That I can highlight here. In professional development, we put together a few years ago these virtual teaching pages, and we have resources for teachers. This is kind of how to search through Clean for virtual learning opportunities. And then we also have this page, resources for parents and families, where we actually highlight a lot of like community science programs here, COCORAS being one of them. So this is another cool little page if you have interest in different like activities you might like I said, we built this for like parents and families specifically during like COVID when they were stuck at home and wanted to do more learning, but I've tried to keep it updated as well in terms of some different videos or like activities you can do with kids, games, experiments, but then yeah, as I mentioned, the community science programs especially are fun ones to look at. Yeah, I would search their site. I know they have a sign font that talks about the rain gauge itself as being like a please don't disturb this, because I think a lot of people were having like, yeah, people mess with their rain gauges. So they have a sign that's like, this is an official station, like please don't mess with it. You might use that as like a template for something for your garden. What else do you know? What should I show them on the website while I'm here?
Spanish translation pages are pretty cool. That's
yeah.
something that we offer that is interesting for a lot of people.
Yeah.
We've got a few of our pages translated into Spanish. Not all of them, but some of the main ones are.
The teaching guidance for climate, for energy, and in elementary, a lot of couple of these, the strategies and sort of fundamental concepts for elementary teachers are both translated into science. So yeah, you can check those out, and each of the like principles pages underneath these are translated into science. And then we're working on our mental health pages, but those are newer, so we haven't done those. They're not finished yet, but then we also have the managing the controversy page that's also translated into Spanish, which is cool. Good point, Gina. And yeah, I'd say, like I said, I think navigating through Clean, I mentioned that can be challenging. Our main page, just you can go to the collection, you can go to the educator support, and from there you can kind of get to everything. The last thing that Gina will actually kind of talk about when I go back to my slides, this get involved. This is another space you can find a lot of different links for Clean, including like how to join our network and things like that. So with that, Gina, maybe do you want to finish up our slides here in the last couple of minutes?
Yep, that sounds good.
I'm sorry, I have to keep jumping around between PowerPoint and the internet.
Thanks, Katie. Thanks for jumping around for us. Oh, it's doing that thing again where it's freezing on the won't go to full screen.
Let's try it again. Is that better?
Yep, looks good. Yeah, so already a question in the chat about how to sign up for our newsletters and all of that. And that's a great question, because we've got so many ways to stay engaged. This is kind of like the third pillar of clean is our vibrant community of practice. We have the Clean Network, which is, I'll have you go to the next slide, Katie. The Clean Network is a community of practice that is full of educators, scientists, um, science education professionals, a lot of government agency folks. We have an active email list. So we have a listserv of over 700 folks. It's always growing. And then we've got video calls on Zoom that are either presentations similar to this, where we bring in partners like the Earth Center or other folks to talk about their research, that kind of thing. Or we just have informal discussions where we talk about challenges or exciting news. It really is just a space where people can get together and talk about what it means to teach about climate and energy. And it's really special. I think there's been a lot of great professional connections that have been made over the years. A lot of us will go to conferences together. But beyond that, even if it's something as simple as like getting an email with a new opportunity, I know a lot of people really enjoy being part of our listserv and being part of our network. And Tiffany is attesting to that right now. Thanks, Tiffany. So we do really encourage everyone to sign up for our Clean Network to stay engaged with the broader climate education community. And then once you hit that Get Involved tab on our homepage, it'll bring you here. And the very top opportunity up here is joining the Clean Network, which I do really recommend. But we also have two newsletters. We have one focused on educators, where we share resources from the Clean collection that are usually around some theme, like Arctic research or gardening or that type of thing. And then we also have a newsletter that's dedicated just to the Clean Network and opportunities and highlighting those types of things. So we've got multiple opportunities to stay engaged through email, but then also you can always suggest a resource if you have something that you think would be a good fit for the Clean collection. We've got a webinars button as well, so if you want to check out some of those upcoming webinars with those all-star speakers that Katie was just talking about, click there. You can stay engaged with us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And I also just created a LinkedIn page and Blue Sky for us, so I can put links to that in the chat, but do stay engage with us on social media. But then also one other thing to highlight is this amazing teacher ambassador program that we have. We have a great community of teachers that we work with who we will support them to go to a local teacher conference or PD opportunity. And if they speak about clean there, then we will support them financially with a stipend. And many other things. You can add the clean widget to your own website. So this is a little box that you can add on your website to that will search the entire clean collection. So that's really cool. And learn more about the review process. There's all different types of ways to stay engaged and get involved with clean.
Can I highlight one other, which is
Yeah.
if you're an educator who wants to review resources for us, you can also volunteer to be a reviewer.
We always need that.
So, and we pay for we don't pay for the expert science review that they do as part of their service work, but for the other review process, we do pay per resource for reviewing.
Yeah. Our email is clean@colorado.edu. So you can always follow up with us there if you have questions. But we can continue chatting. And one other thing, Katie, actually, I'm sorry to ask you to go back to can you navigate back to the website? Because I just wanted to show everyone the clean calendar.
Oh yeah, good point.
So we have a professional development calendar on our homepage that we're really hoping people will look to for any kind of PD opportunity. Um, if you are hosting a PD opportunity, you can submit it to our calendar and we'll post it on our main page. But then also, if you're an educator who's looking for opportunities, we really invite everyone to come to the homepage, just scroll down a little bit, and it's right there. We've got a Google Calendar with all the info and details you need about all different kinds of opportunities from folks in the Clean Network. And yeah, there's a suggest an event button there. This is the form, and you can just fill that out with any opportunity that you know of or that you're hosting, and we'll get it posted up there. So we're just trying to spread the word about that a little bit more too.
And this is the get involved page that Gina was just mentioning. So this takes you to a lot of the different links you might want from this part of the website too. So yeah, there's a lot. As you can see, like when we go in our educator support side of the website, like this can just expand down with all the different things that are in here and stuff. So, but we have tried to highlight the like biggest ticket items that you want to get to that will take you to everything else through this sort of top navigation. So hopefully that makes it a little bit easier to kind of walk around the site a bit. Any other questions? I saw one. Let me put this, I can put this link in the chat too. This is the get involved, or no, this is, sorry. Let's put this link in the chat. And there was a question about NSTA.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were planning to be in an NSTA. I thought Patrick was going to go, but I think recently with some of the conversations with NOAA, I think there's been a decision not to do travel. Is that correct, Gina? Do you know?
Yeah, a lot of federal funding is frozen for travel right now. So definitely us at CIRES, unfortunately, we won't be traveling, but hopefully that will change soon.
I think there was conversations about how to still get clean and series like materials there to like there might still be a NOAA booth or something like that. So we're trying to figure out how we can have some presence, but I don't think one of our clean team members is going to go.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
And I'm just putting, I said I would put some links to our social media in the chat, particularly some of our new ones that we are trying to get up and running. So there's Facebook and Instagram, and then I'm going to share LinkedIn and Blue Sky as well. And Joe just asked a very good question about Tuesday calls. So yeah, the Tuesday calls on Zoom are part of the Clean Network activities. And we've had a standing call every Tuesday for, I don't know, like 12 years on Zoom. We have moved them to be the first and third Tuesdays of every month. So we're still hosting them. They're just slightly they have a slight different frequency. So like the next call will be next Tuesday, March 4th. And then again on the 18th. And this is the page for that.
Same time, but just less
Okay.
frequent. And this was from feedback from the network. So we're trying out this new schedule. This is just as of January of this year. So we'll let you know if it changes. But for right now, it seems to be working pretty well.
Gina and Kate,
Sorry,
thank
Andy,
you.
we did end up taking most of the hour.
No, this is perfect. Thank you all so much. You all have clearly built an amazing repository of resources and an amazing community. Thank you for all that you have done to build this and share this with all of the teaching community. Again, from preschool all the way through, as far as our educational pursuits may go. So thank you again for your time today. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, they certainly have your contact information now. We look forward to working with you in the future. And thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks for hosting us.
And thank you everyone for joining us. And again, the Clean Network, you can find more information on their website and more information about the Earth Center on our website. Thank you all so much for your time today.